Let's take you now to Parliament because the minority are taking on the chairman of the Appointments Committee, Bernard Ahiafor, who they accuse of gross partisanship. Now, it will be recalled that on Monday, the minority and its leadership clashed several times with the chairman and the NDC majority on the committee over the modalities for the vetting. Now, addressing journalists in Parliament, MP for Tano North, Gideon Waku, who spoke on behalf of the minority, claimed that the chairman of the committee was an obstacle to the committee doing an excellent job.
The Ghanaian people and the minority members of the committee the opportunity to conduct a thorough vetting of the nominees. He was protective of the nominees and extremely partisan. Members of the committee were shouted at by the chairman. You all witnessed how the member for Etiwa East, the Honorable Abuna Osei Asari, was shouted at in an attempt to protect the nominees. The chairman denied legitimate members of the committee the opportunity to ask relevant questions and railroaded the nominees through the process. It must be noted that the altercation between our side of the committee and the chairman was a direct protest against his conduct. Under the facade of a lack of capacity, he disregarded the fact that those he bullied were members of parliament and that the committee is a subbody of the House. It cannot be right that members who are taxed by the Ghanaian people with oversight are denied the opportunity to scrutinize the nominees. The chairman and the majority members of the Appointments Committee owe it to Ghana to assist us in fulfilling the work entrusted to us by the Constitution. If this is not changed, moving forward, we fear that an irreparable harm will be done to our democracy, with round pegs occupying square holes.
Our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante joins me in the studio with details. Kweku, we're seeing quite an active minority.
Yes.
There is concerns about the performance of Ahiafor. They said he lacked clarity of thoughts. Why exactly?
Yes, it's been 8 days in opposition so far, and they've really been up and doing, speaking a lot about some of these key issues. And in particular, they are zooming in regarding Dr. Ahiafor. They say that the man who has led the charge for the NDC on issues of finance for the last 8 years since they've been in opposition, and also having served as a deputy minister under John Dramani Mahama when he was in office between 2013 and 2017, simply did not come to the committee very prepared. And that, in fact, some of the answers he gave were evasive. He did not stick to the key issues that he was asked. They zoom in, for instance, to e-levy. They talk about the fact that Dr. Ahiafor and the NDC say they will scrap e-levy, but they have not announced how exactly they are going to fill in the gap that will be caused by e-levy and betting tax and other tax being scrapped. And they say what they suspect is that the NDC will take up these taxes, but introduce more draconian taxes, which is to them akin to robbing Peter to pay Paul. And so they believe that Dr. Ahiafor has not shown enough commitment, has not shown enough of the mindset that he is ready and willing to be the next finance minister. Let's listen to Gideon Waku again as they address Parliament today.
The Honorable Dr. Ahiafor, who appeared as the finance minister designate, was evasive, inconsistent, and lacked clarity of thought. Having served as a deputy minister of finance and a ranking member of the finance committee, one would have expected his answers to be forthright and to exude concrete solutions. We acknowledge the minister designate's definitive commitment to scrap the betting tax, e-levy, COVID levy, and emission tax. While this act is commendable, it raises concerns that the minister failed to address. First, we would like to know how the minister-designate plans to make up for the revenue shortfalls that will arise as a result of the tax cuts. The minister's quick response was cuts in expenditure. While we believe expenditure cuts could be a possible way to match revenue with expenses in order not to run into fiscal deficits, it is not in itself the ultimate solution to address revenue shortfalls. Would the minister-designate's expenditure cuts affect teacher trainee allowances, nursing trainee allowances, free senior high school, the livelihood empowerment against poverty, subsidy on fertilizer for farmers? Would they affect the school feeding program? Would they affect salaries of government workers? The minister-designate's unconvincing responses regarding how he intends to make up for the revenue shortfalls leave us with no choice but to think that he will scrap these taxes but introduce new ones, perhaps more draconian than those he would scrap. We cannot give with his right hand and take back with his left.
Oh, that's his Gideon there. They also raised concerns about the vetting of the energy minister designate,
yes,
John Jaap.
Yes, according to the NPP side, John Jaap, I was calling Dr. John Jaap, he has a PhD, but he doesn't use it.
Yeah.
So they say that John Jaap had made certain comments while in opposition about privatization of ECG. And he at the time had said, according to them, that he was not so much in favor of the idea of privatizing some aspect of ECG's operation. But during his vetting, he did indicate that at least for the billing aspect of electricity and the collection part, he would have wished that that process would be privatized. And in fact, he's looking at 6 months to do so. They say that is not consistent and that he should stick to the position he took while in opposition, because they believe he's simply doing this. And what he did at the time was simply because he was playing politics and not because he meant well for the Electric Company of Ghana. And so they take aim at him over that. They also talk about some of the issues having to do with the John Jaap's interview with me at the inauguration, where he said that Ghana had only about 5 hours left of fuel to keep the lights on. They said that's clearly not true. In fact, when John Jaap appeared before the committee, he sought to clarify what exactly he meant when he said that. But the ABP side have simply said that Dr. John Jaap must not be playing politics with the Electric Company of Ghana and the energy subsector, for which reason they believe that he must take these into cognizance as he goes into the office as Minister for Energy.
They also raised concerns about conflict of interest when it comes to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice designate. What exactly is their concern?
So you will recall that when Dr. Dominic Ayeni faced the vetting committee, there were questions having to do with certain dealings of his office by way of his law firm, Ayeni, Feli and Partners. And he did represent certain companies who he no longer represents, but these institutions and firms have filed arbitration proceedings against the state, some of them demanding hundreds of millions of dollars. The minority's claim is that given that he represented some of these entities at some point in his career, and now coming into office as an Attorney General, if he is approved, he would have to go and put up a defense against these arbitration charges that have been filed against the state. And they believe that a conflict of interest may arise because these are former business partners of his by way of he representing them as counsel. And these persons now going to court to challenge the state's maybe termination of their contract and all of that. They say that that amounts to conflict of interest. And they would have wished that Dr. Dominic Ayeni would have rejected the offer that was made by John Mahama for him to become the next Attorney General, because they believe he's neck deep in matters of conflict of interest. Listen to Gideon Boakum again, MP for Tananoff.
In the case of the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, the Honorable Dr. Dominic Ayeni, it is clear he finds himself in a conflict of interest position. His law firm and he personally are representing companies that have filed arbitration claims in excess of over 500 million United States dollars. can Ghanaians go to sleep believing that their money will be safe and that it will not be stolen through payment of dubious judgment debts, as we saw in the case of Wodiome? Ladies and gentlemen of the media, watch the space for GP, GC, and Cassius mining arbitration claims against the government of Ghana. In any serious country, we believe the Attorney General designate would not have accepted the appointment. Mr. Attorney General designate, why the public tribunal? What is our High Court not doing right, necessitating the creation of the public tribunal?
Well, just before they left that press conference, they also raised concerns about Ora and its operations.
We know that Ora has become such a topical matter having to do with the Operation Recover All Loot, that signature promise of the NDC as regards to going after persons they believe or claim have looted from the state. According to John Dako, who is also a new member of parliament, their strategy as a political party is that Ora, and they've continued to insist, is an illegal creation. It has no legal backing, it has no basis in any statute or the Constitution of the Republic. And so, if you are or have been an appointee of President Akufo-Addo, and you have served between 2017 and this year when the government left office, if Oral invites you or tries to do any work relating to you, you should just not pay attention to them. One, if they invite you, do not go. If they come to a land that you may have purchased from the state or anything for that matter, do not cooperate, because they believe that Ora is an unconstitutional creature and must not be allowed to continue to go about doing things purporting to be legal that is simply illegal.
Yes, sir.
The Attorney General designate is a law professor. When approved, he is going to be the chief enforcer of our laws. When he appeared before the committee and was asked about the legality of this Ora, he justified it. He justified the unconstitutional establishment and putting together of people who go about harassing former government officials. We believe that the establishment of that Ora Committee violates and flies in the face of our Constitution. And so one would have expected that a law professor in the person of Dr. Ayeni would have condemned it. But rather, he justified it. Now his justification is now putting the work of the police CID, IOCO, and special prosecutor, and constitutionally established bodies out of business. It is concerning, and we want the people of Ghana to know that no serious country will entertain anything such as this. And so if you are a former government official and you're invited by this so-called Ora, our advice to you from the minority is to boycott any invitation from the Ora team. We are not going to be part of it because we believe that there are constitutionally established bodies that can investigate any so-called misdeeds of the government. What are they doing? What they are doing is to go about disturbing people, entering homes, taking vehicles, seizing vehicles, and more or less taking over lands from people who have genuinely purchased land.